There exists a hidden language, not of words, but of stillness. Not of declarations, but of implications. It speaks not to the ear, but to the mind. You've heard it before, but you didn't recognize it. You felt it in the moment you agreed to something you didn't fully understand, in the decisions you thought were yours, but were planted, one suggestion at a time. True influence doesn't shout, it doesn't ask, it doesn't need permission. It builds its throne in silence and invites no audience. The ones who master this art do not demand power. They design the conditions under which power becomes inevitable. You believe your thoughts are your own? They aren't. You've simply grown used to the shape of the walls built around you. Someone gave you just enough space to feel free, just enough illusion to feel autonomous. That's not persuasion. It's not even charm. It's domination through suggestion. And the most dangerous kind of domination, the one that leaves no fingerprints. This isn't the power you see on television. It doesn't wear suits or hold titles. It doesn't campaign or debate. It whispers from behind the curtain. It rewires belief, perception, and certainty until people defend the very prison they've been locked into. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He didn't just study control, he refined it. He realized that raw force, however effective in the short term, always creates resistance. But influence? Influence glides under the skin. It isn't resisted because it's never detected. It makes people want to follow, need to agree, choose to obey, and all the while they think they're free. To manipulate effectively, forget everything you've been taught about arguing, explaining, or persuading. You don't win power by being convincing. You win by building a world where others don't question you to begin with. You want to be feared, control decisions. You want to be respected, control perception. But if you want to be dangerous, truly untouchable, you must control reality itself. This isn't self-help. It's not motivation. It's a weapon. One that leaves no trace. One that doesn't fire a single shot, but wins every war. Learn how to use it, and no one will ever see you coming. Because the most dangerous power is the one that doesn't look like power at all. It doesn't arrive with fanfare. It doesn't announce itself. It hides inside assumptions, inside habits, inside culture. It's the voice in the room no one questions, not because it's right, but because it's already been accepted. That is the art of influence, and it begins with one foundational principle: observation. Before you ever try to control someone else, you must understand them more deeply than they understand themselves. Don't listen to their words. Watch their patterns, their choices, their contradictions. Ask yourself, what do they crave? What do they avoid? Who do they try to impress? Who makes them nervous? Where do they leak insecurity? Because the manipulator doesn't attack the strongest. He finds the ones already breaking, the ones seeking approval, the ones desperate to matter. These are the easy ones, the soft targets, the cracks you can widen with a whisper, a nod, a pause. The battlefield is emotional, and you win by choosing where the fight happens, and by ensuring the other person never even realizes it was a fight. Don't speak to logic, speak to desire. People don't want to be correct. They want to feel certain. They want to be seen, validated, admired. They don't make decisions from spreadsheets. They make them from the gut. And the skilled manipulator bypasses the brain and goes straight for the core. Present your ideas not as suggestions, but as opportunities. Give them the feeling of alignment, that in agreeing with you, they are aligning with their better self. Let them believe they are choosing, even when every option on the table leads to you. Make them feel special. Make them feel chosen. Make them believe they're standing for something noble, something higher than themselves. And once that emotion is activated, they'll follow, blindly, loyally, and gratefully. Fear and desire. Machiavelli said these are the only two engines of man. A manipulator who can pull both strings at once, offer hope with one hand and exploit terror with the other, controls the entire board. Because most people aren't logical. They're scared. And the one who offers both comfort and direction becomes irresistible. But here's what separates the master from the novice. Ego. The amateur manipulator wants to be seen, wants credit. He smiles when his plan works, expects praise, hungers for admiration. That's his weakness. The real manipulator doesn't need applause. He doesn't even need acknowledgement. He'll let others take the credit. Let them believe it was their idea. He operates behind the curtain, silent, calm, and calculating. Because the moment you become the face of the plan, you become a target. But if you stay in the background, invisible and unfazed, your influence becomes like gravity, silent, constant, inescapable. Every interaction is a test, every word a confession. Most people are revealing themselves constantly, not through what they say, but how they say it. Their tone, their hesitations, their glances, their reactions. Watch what changes when someone powerful enters the room. Who talks more? Who shrinks? Who becomes defensive? These are signals. And to the trained mind, they are roadmaps. Once you understand someone's fears and triggers, you no longer need to control them overtly. You simply create an environment where they choose to move in the direction you've already prepared. Don't speak often. Speak precisely. Every phrase should be a seed, planted in soil you've already tested. Don't think about how they respond today. Think about how they'll respond next week, after others repeat the same idea, after their emotions reinforce the story you created. This is long-game manipulation, not about convincing once, but about building belief systems that sustain your control even when you're not present. You're not directing a scene. You're writing the entire script they'll live in. And the beauty of it, they won't resist, because it all feels natural. They won't resist because it doesn't feel like control. It feels like intuition. It feels like freedom, like destiny. That's the brilliance of dark influence. It hides behind the illusion of choice. People believe they're choosing, but every option was sculpted by your hand. You don't force, you allow. You don't command, you guide. And because it all feels effortless, they never suspect they're being led. You build your empire not by grabbing power, but by making others carry it to you, willingly, proudly. And when they arrive, exhausted from the climb, they hand it to you with reverence, convinced you earned it. That is when the manipulation becomes permanent, not because you demanded loyalty, but because they constructed it inside themselves. And they'll defend you, not just from others, but from themselves. If doubt creeps in, they'll crush it. If someone questions your motives, they'll dismiss it. They don't just trust you. They've built part of their identity around you. And once that happens, you own more than influence. You own belief. Because influence isn't about moments. It's about frameworks. If you control the frame, you control every picture inside it. People don't question what feels normal. So you define normal. You shape what's obvious, what's respectable, what's feared. And once you install that system, they no longer think outside of it. They don't even remember how. You've replaced their instincts with yours. To do that, you must master masks. The face you show must never reveal the game you're playing. You must be able to wear calm while burning with strategy underneath. Let them underestimate you. Let them think you're soft, slow, even naive. Let them believe they know your limits. That belief is the leash you'll pull when they're no longer looking. Disarm with vulnerability. Not because you are weak, but because you know the strong never show all their cards. Doubt yourself in front of them. Ask for their advice. Expose flaws, fake ones, just enough to make the truth behind you invisible. Because people don't guard themselves against those they think are lost. They mentor them. They embrace them. They speak freely. And when they do, you listen. You catalogue. You learn. And you strike. Never loudly, never impulsively. Always at the precise moment they least expect it. Because real power moves in silence. By the time they understand what you've done, it's too late. They're already inside your design. This is where misdirection becomes your shield. Let them watch your left hand while the right hand builds the machine. Feed them distractions. Give them noise to chase while the real plan unfolds in the blind spot of their attention. You don't just hide your motives, you overwrite them. Create fake goals, fake frustrations. Let them believe you're motivated by something small, so they never look toward what really matters. People don't guard what they think you don't care about. Emotion is one of your best disguises. Most people trust emotion. They think it reveals truth. Use that. Let them see you as overwhelmed, impulsive, even foolish. Let them believe your decisions come from the heart. They'll never suspect how surgical your actions truly are. Because what looks like a misstep can be strategy. What looks like hesitation can be bait. What looks like failure can be a setup. Lose on purpose. Back down when it doesn't cost you. Give them small wins. Let them think they're leading. Comfort is the sedative of suspicion. And when they're finally asleep, emotionally, mentally, tactically, you tighten the net. You see, silence is your greatest ally. Most people can't tolerate it. It makes them nervous. It forces them to fill the space. And in that scramble to speak, they reveal everything. Desires, insecurities, plans. Let them talk. Let them justify. Let them over-explain. Every word they say is a brick in the prison you're building for them. Stay silent, and they will build it with their own hands. You don't need to push. You don't even need to pull. You just allow. Let their assumptions grow. Let their trust solidify. Let their defenses drop. Not with force, but with familiarity. Until one day, you're not just accepted, you're embedded. Beyond suspicion, beyond questioning. They don't think you're incapable of manipulation. They think you're above it. And that's when you've already won. Not because you outfought them, but because they never knew there was a fight to begin with. You've been at war since the first word. They never even put on armor. When you move, and you will move, do it without warning. No announcements, no preparations, no negotiations, just action. Let them discover the truth after the outcome is locked. Let them realize the trap only once it's closed. And when they do, act surprised with them. Feign ignorance. Join their confusion. Smile softly as they look for someone to blame, and never once suspect the hand they trusted most. That is the perfection of manipulation. Not just force hidden behind words, but strategy embedded in identity. Not just lies, but realities constructed so thoroughly that no one dares to doubt them. Power this refined doesn't scare people. It doesn't need to. It simply becomes inevitable. Control the story, and you control the mind. And once you control the mind, no one questions your methods, because their reality now requires your presence. Influence begins long before the conversation. It begins with perception. It begins with what people expect to see, what they're trained to respect, and what they instinctively believe to be true. You don't have to shout over people when you're the only voice they trust. You don't need evidence when you're the source they reference. That's the highest level of power, not needing to convince because you've already defined what truth looks like. People don't want truth. They want certainty. They want something that protects their fears, flatters their egos, and confirms what they hope is real. So give it to them. Dress the lie in just enough truth to pass inspection. Wrap it in comfort. Hand it to them with confidence. If they accept it once, they'll defend it forever. You become the echo, the whisper that becomes consensus, the phrase repeated so often it no longer gets questioned. People will parrot your language, repeat your logic, even defend your contradictions, not because you forced them to, but because they feel like they discovered it themselves. They didn't. You made sure they never heard anything else. Control what people are exposed to, and you control what they believe. Filter what they hear, distort what they see. And if you do it patiently, they'll build the prison with joy, then guard it like it's sacred. Once they associate your voice with clarity, explanation, and comfort, they no longer resist. You become a pillar in their mind, and they'll tear down anyone who threatens you. But your job isn't done. You must control how they feel about what they hear. Create associations. Make your enemies represent instability, confusion, danger. Make yourself the image of calm, direction, stability. People don't remember facts. They remember how they felt when they heard them. Your reputation becomes your leverage. Your words carry weight, not because they're accurate, but because they're expected to be right. Reputation can be constructed, built, engineered, one interaction at a time, until your opinion becomes unchallenged, until your silence becomes meaningful, until you can end a conversation with a glance. Eventually, people will complete your sentences, assume your meaning, obey your implications, not because you're loud, but because you're embedded. And when that moment arrives, when every thought seems to originate from your design, you won't just have influence, you'll have dominance, silent, invisible, and absolute. Once your influence reaches this point, you no longer need to speak at all. You've already spoken enough through the words now being repeated without you. Your phrases live inside conversations you're not part of. Your framing lives in minds you've never met. The narrative is no longer carried by you. It's carried by those you've programmed to defend it. That is not persuasion. That is architecture. You've installed the blueprint of thought, the structure of perception, and now the people around you are enforcing the very system you designed, thinking it's their own. They filter reality to match what you taught them. They discard what doesn't fit. They self-correct, not because you told them to, but because they fear the chaos of a world without your frame. You are no longer just a person. You've become a worldview. And that is when control becomes effortless. When stepping away from your influence feels dangerous to them. When your presence equals stability. When your silence equals guidance. They cling to you not because they are weak, but because they've forgotten how to stand without your permission. You no longer need to manipulate them directly. You've programmed their internal systems to respond exactly how you intended. They do it to themselves. They reinforce your beliefs. They spread your logic. They fight your battles. And when others challenge you, they rise before you even lift a finger. They will explain, justify, protect, and defend you. Not out of obligation, but out of identity. You've fused your presence with their sense of truth. To challenge you would mean to challenge themselves. They won't do it. They can't. Now you command not individuals, but belief systems. And once you command those, there is nothing you cannot shape. You don't even need an army. You need conviction, distributed across loyal minds. You need purpose, embedded inside eager hands. You don't fight your enemies directly. You never argue with them, never debate them. You let others do that for you, Allies, pawns, fanatics. They are loyal. They are disposable. They are useful. And they don't even know they're being used. That's real influence. Not how many people obey you, but how many believe they're obeying themselves while enacting your will. That's the genius of dark manipulation. You remain hidden, while your influence spreads like a virus, undetected, unchallenged. Machiavelli understood this completely. He didn't tell rulers to be charismatic. He taught them to be invisible, to rule through intermediaries, to command through proxies. Because when your hands are clean, your power cannot be traced. You're not the villain. You're not even in the picture, but your fingerprints are on every betrayal, every alliance, every war. That is how you multiply yourself without risk, not by controlling people, but by implanting your thinking inside them. They execute your will while believing they're chasing their own purpose. And the truth? You gave them that purpose, because every ambitious man wants a cause. Every insecure woman wants validation. Every lost mind wants something to follow. You are that something, if you are ruthless enough to shape them into what serves you. You don't ask people to serve you. You build their needs in a way that makes serving you feel like salvation. Give them enemies. Give them opposition. Create conflict, and then offer purpose. Offer clarity. Offer direction. Feed them justifications, slogans, values. And when they act, they believe they're acting for truth, for justice, for identity. They're not. They're acting for you. When they spill blood, it will be in your name, even if they don't say it. And when the dust settles, when your rival lies humiliated, discredited, or destroyed, you will not be in the frame. You'll be somewhere else. Calm, controlled, perhaps even consoling those caught in the aftermath. They'll come to you for answers, for peace, for meaning, and you will give it while never revealing that the chaos was of your making. That's how you build empires, not with armies, with orchestration. Most people want leadership, but they resist being used, so you never let them see it. You flatter them. You make them feel chosen. You offer them choices that all serve your ends. They think they're rebels. They think they're visionaries. They think they're leaders. But you know the truth. They are weapons, and weapons never question the hand that wields them. Even your enemies can become tools. Their hatred becomes fuel. Their outrage becomes publicity. Their obsession spreads your name further than your allies ever could. Let them attack. Let them scream. Let them tear their own credibility apart while trying to tear you down. Their aggression only amplifies your myth. And when their anger burns out, when they've spent all their energy, detach. Vanish. Let them fight over the rubble. You've already moved on, setting the next trap, grooming the next figurehead, scripting the next war. You are never where the fire is. You are always one step ahead, emotionless, nameless, untouchable. You don't seek attention. You seek leverage. You speak rarely. Move slowly. Let others scramble to interpret what you meant. Let them analyze your silence. Let them argue over what your glance implied. You do not explain. You do not defend. You never reveal how deep your control goes, because the best manipulation is the kind that doesn't feel like manipulation at all. It feels like fate, like clarity, like truth. You don't control people by overpowering them. You control them by making them feel powerful while they serve you. And if they ever see the truth, and most never will, it's already too late. By then, their independence has become obedience. Their resistance has been sculpted into loyalty. You, the invisible architect, remain unknown, untouched, undisputed. Manipulation is not about feelings, it's about control. And control requires detachment. You cannot react. You cannot explain. You cannot waver. Because the moment you let emotion dictate your strategy, the entire game unravels. You become predictable, reactive, weak. The true manipulator, the dangerous one, is emotionally silent. Not because he lacks feeling, but because he no longer allows it to matter. Machiavelli knew this. He didn't preach empathy. He preached results. A ruler who hesitates out of pity will be destroyed by one who doesn't. A man who stalls out of love, fear, or guilt is already enslaved. So kill the need to be understood. Crush the desire to be liked. Burn the instinct to explain yourself. Let them misunderstand. Let them judge. Let them believe you're wrong. It doesn't matter what they think. It only matters what happens. And when people become liabilities, even if you once trained them, supported them, even loved them, let them go. Cut them cleanly, without hesitation, without guilt. Sentiment is the enemy of strategy. If someone threatens the structure, remove them. The longer you delay, the deeper the damage. Restraint is your final weapon. Let your silence be heavy. Let your absence provoke anxiety. Let your presence, when it arrives, feel like judgment, not comfort. The manipulator doesn't chase loyalty. He demands alignment. And when betrayal appears, he doesn't plead. He doesn't rage. He watches. He waits. He lets the betrayer overstep. Then he dismantles them, quietly, completely, not out of anger, but as a message. Power doesn't come from dominance. It comes from reputation. A reputation for quiet, merciless efficiency. You must become the one they fear to cross, not because you yell, but because you never have to. This kind of strength doesn't scream. It watches, it endures, it moves last, and wins always. Most people are ruled by impulse. Emotion is their master, but you've seen the truth. Emotion is a leash, and once you cut it, you are free. Free to think 10 steps ahead. Free to abandon anyone. Free to rewrite the rules. This is how kings are built, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not through popularity, but through precision. Not through kindness, but through clarity. And clarity is what you now have. You understand that true influence isn't about being loud. It's about being the voice that stays in their heads long after you've gone silent. You don't manipulate with threats. You manipulate with design, with precision, with absence. You've seen how to plant ideas without leaving fingerprints, how to turn others into weapons without ever touching them, how to control reality by shaping perception. You don't need to rule by force. You rule by narrative. And now you've gone beyond manipulation. You've become the system itself. Every road leads to you. Every belief strengthens your position. Every fear, every hope, every need. All roads converge where your influence already lives. You don't chase power. You've become indispensable. You don't need to manipulate anymore, because the world around you has been constructed to favor you automatically. Your control has become invisible, and therefore permanent. This is what Machiavelli taught. Not morality, not approval, victory. And in the end, the game of power is never won by those who are right. It is won by those who define what right even means. So if you've listened this far, and something inside you, something cold, calculated, ruthless, feels awakened, then understand this. You were never meant to follow. You were meant to rule, not on a stage, but from the silence between decisions, from the shadows behind perception, from the place no one looks, because they don't even know it exists. Pull the strings, watch more, speak less, and when they finally notice you, it will already be too late.